Good morning. My name is Kefra Burns, and I have the pleasure this morning of introducing our moderator for this panel. In our mission to make the life of the mind sexy and to make being well-read and scholarly and credentialed hip, and to turn out an army of polymaths to run the world. No one exemplifies the place and the power and the charisma of contemporary black intellectual, especially to the hip-hop community, more than Michael Eric Dyson. He's a Georgetown University professor, author of umpteen books. It's like 18 or 19 or 20, I don't remember, but the last of which, and you probably know all the names of them, you know, I remember is Bill Cosby, writer, is Black America Crazy? But the last of which is The Black Presidency, Barack Obama and the Politics of Race in America. Please get that book and read it if you haven't already. He's a frequent contributor, host on MSNBC. You see him all over television. One of the most intelligent, insightful commentators on contemporary politics and culture that you will find, Dr. Michael Eric Dyson.
Thank you, sir. Mama, that's how you do it. That's how you do it. I want to thank El DeBarge for that tremendous. All my life is waiting for you. El looking good. He ain't aged a day. That is the Reverend Dr. Professor Kefra Burns. Give it up for Kefra Burns. Great playwright, poet, raconteur, art expert, jazz expert, music expert, and expert in beautiful, brilliant black women. Like the one he's married to, the Reverend Dr. Professor Susan L. Taylor. So, unfortunately, Beyonce could not be here today. She will be here later for all of you who need to taste a bit of that lemonade. Unfortunately, her stand-in, the great Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, is unable. All right, show some love for the Congresswoman. She is unable to join us because she's back at the Capitol voting. Imagine that, a Congress that actually does work. She is voting as we speak because you know she's one of the most conscientious figures in all of Congress. However, she did want me to share with you her remarks this morning. Thank you for attending today's forum. I am pleased to be here as the honorary host. This is Congresswoman Beatty speaking, not me, for this interactive, action-packed, and informative panel entitled Money, Wealth, and Disparities, Secrets for Success. So you're going to hear a lot about today's secrets, otherwise known as the skills and techniques to successfully build a brighter financial future and to close the wealth gap in the African American community. I'd like to thank me, your moderator, nationally infamous scholar and close friend, Michael Eric Dyson, or some people call him Eric Michael Dyson, who has been with us since the beginning. I also want to thank today's panelists for their participation. Of course, none of this would be possible without our sponsors. Our title sponsor is Key Bank. We got the keys, the keys, the keys, the keys. Y'all got to act a little bit more live up in here. I mean, you know, like I ain't getting paid for this, so these jokes be free, so you got to laugh. That was a reference to DJ Khaled and who else? Hova. So act like y'all know. My wife Beyonce, I brag different. Platinum sponsors, Mary Kay Incorporated and Honda. Give it up for them. And our gold sponsors, General Motors. My brother needs a job, man. I'm gonna holler at you a little later. I just need to get that job. All right. I'm so sincere. L. Brands. L. Brands. The Ohio State University. And Mars Incorporated. And I want to thank my personal sponsor, the National Association of Medical Marijuana. Now, we aim high. Will our sponsors please stand and be recognized here all together? Again, all of our sponsors. Stand up so we can recognize you, all right? Today in America, did you know that the average white family's wealth is 13 times higher than that of black families, according to the Joint Committee on Taxation? It's so large, in fact, that the nonprofit organization CFED, concluded it will take 228 years for the average black family's wealth to equal that of white families. Most of us ain't gonna be alive in 228 years, but we know that our offspring will be. Just think about that for a second. This is why we continue to hold this event every year, because we know that to eliminate the financial disparities of African American families, we need to make sure all of us and those to come are equipped with the secrets to success as it relates to raising a family, owning a home, paying bills, and saving money for retirement. Something has got to change, or the wealth gap will surely continue to widen. As Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, we are confronted with the fierce urgency of now. In that spirit, our time is now. Returning this year to the panel, I've already mentioned her, the great Susan L. Taylor, Miss Gloria, amen. Miss Gloria Mayfield Banks, Miss Pamela Everhart, and Mr. Ray Odom. We also have new panelists joining us here this year, Bruce D. Murphy and Gerald Johnson, better known as Get My Brother a Job Man, my man, all right. Let me introduce them again for you. Susan L. Taylor really needs no introduction, the Queen of Black America, the iconic representative of our race, and the editor during its extraordinarily powerful expansion into the global market of Essence magazine, shaping the minds and sensibilities of our people. Now, the head of National Care's mentoring movement, the CEO, and she's saving another generation of children. Thank you, Susan Taylor, for joining us today and for the free copies of your book. Let's give her a round of applause. I'm going to introduce each panelist now, and then we'll just go down. Ms. Gloria Mayfield Banks is an author, an international speaker, an elite executive national sales director for Mary Kay. We are happy that she can bring her spellbinding presentation to us again, and thank you for providing the audience with copies of your book as well. Ms. Pamela Everhart is Senior Vice President of Government Relations for Fidelity Investments. We look forward to hearing her perspective and thoughts, always powerful, always stimulating, and always intriguing. Brother Ray Odom is Senior Vice President and Director of Wealth Transfer Services for Northern Trust, Chicago. He'll be bringing his experience and his story, as he always does, with power. Brother Ray, thank you so kindly. Mr. Murphy is Executive Vice President and Head of Corporate Responsibility for KeyBank, today's title sponsor. It's great to have Bruce join us, and I look forward to hearing what he has to say here in a few minutes. And then Gerald Johnson, Vice President of Operational Excellence for General Motors Company. Brother Gerald, thank you so much for your support and your involvement in this morning's event. So, starting to my left with Ms. Everhart, we're going to go right down the row and have these extraordinary presentations, after which, time permitting, we'll get a chance to engage the audience as well. Thank you, Ms. Everhart. The Congresswoman is here. Where's the great? You got to come on up, Congresswoman. You got to say something now. You can't be that fabulous and fine, huh? This is ebony ecstasy unfurled in coffee flesh. This is beautiful, bold brilliance. The Reverend Dr. Professor Congresswoman Joyce Beatty.
What would I do without having Dr. Michael Eric Dyson as my friend? First, I'm going to be very brief, but what an honor it is for me to serve in the United States Congress. But it is a greater honor for me to stand here with a panel of experts that you just heard our moderator introduce. I wasn't here when most of you arrived because we got called into the House floor. And voting is important whether it is in November or whether it is every day on the floor. And I went today to support a bill with the president. But more importantly, I went because they had said that they were going to sanction those of us that sat down with the iconic Congressman John Lewis, and I was excited. I told my staff this morning to call my husband, who's a lawyer, but don't call him right away because I'm going to be like Fannie Lou Hamer. They're going to take me out. So they must have known that Joyce Beatty was ready, and they did not bring that to the floor. And I only mention that because it is parallel with the topic that we have today. When you talk about money, and you talk about wealth, and you talk about planning and investments, it is parallel to what every one of you do, because the underlining words today are our secrets. And this panel, whether it is their own story, I mean, if I would say to you that Dr. Michael Eric Dyson was a factory worker, and there's nothing wrong with that, but now New York Times has him as a contributing writer. He has written a book, and I hope I'm not letting the bag out. I know there's another one coming real soon. He goes all over the nation speaking. Name a university. He's either been there, taught there, or set them straight on what the plight should be. So let me again say welcome. You are here to learn the secrets. You are here to hear from them. You will hear from me throughout. Dr. Dyson is going to the great state of Ohio later today to give a speech. That's a friend. He was making money today. He does this for free. But he came here because of you and because of relationships. All of these individuals are here because of you and because of relationships. So you'll get to hear a little more from me if Michael's going to entrust me to co-anchor, moderate for him. So I got some stories when he leaves that I'll tell you. See, I called the real Dr. Reverend, and that's Marcia Dyson. With that, thank you. I am Congresswoman Joyce Beatty, and I approve this message today.
Good morning. It's certainly hard to follow the Congresswoman. I'll try my best. Thank you for having me back again. I think this is my 4th year, and it's so great to be on this panel with all of these distinguished speakers. And I want to applaud the Congresswoman for keeping this topic front and center. Learning about money, learning about wealth, and the disparities that we see in our community. What I'd like to do this morning is really to focus on the women, the black women in this room. That doesn't mean that I don't have a message for the men, because you have women in your lives. You have your wives, many of you still have your moms, you have sisters, and you have daughters. And what I want to say is that it is important that women thrive. Now, you know, we know how to survive. A woman, my girlfriends will survive. But we need to really thrive, particularly in this area of investing. Now, my company, Fidelity Investments, is very committed to this. We have a whole series on women, and we want to make sure that they get all of the resources they need. We want to make sure that women are educated in finances. We want to make sure that you're enabled and have the appropriate resources to make important decisions. And we want to make sure that you're confident, that you're focusing on how to live your life and how to reach your dreams from a financial perspective. Now, as we know, women over the last several decades have made great progress. We've made great progress in the workplace. Many of us are managers or senior vice presidents or even presidents of companies. We're doing very well in the community. Many of us are leaders in nonprofit organizations and in politics. We have the Congresswoman here making strides, and we have a woman running for President of the United States. And I'll give you some more stats, particularly for the black women in the room. Most of us, clearly probably 60 to 70% of us, are the primary breadwinners in the home. So we're making some of these financial decisions every day. We own our businesses, and we are making a difference in our communities. And 80% of the purchasing decisions in America are made by women. And 6 out of every 10 graduates in colleges and in universities are women. But there's a problem. The problem is, while we're saving money, we're not investing our money. We're not participating in that process. So our money is not working for us. It's time now that we make our investing decisions a priority for us. Now, let me tell you a personal story about my mom. She's now 80 years old, but you know, she's a college-educated woman. She graduated, got married, had 3 kids, and then what happened? Divorce. And then it became tough. Now, she was college-educated, but she wasn't educated in finances. Smart woman, but going back to the planning piece, she didn't have that. So in terms of our colleges, we didn't have a 529 plan. In fact, they were not in the code then, but she wasn't planning for college because she didn't know how to do that. And then in terms of, you know, living her life to the end, trying to figure out how will I make my money work until I'm in my 90s, she didn't do that either because she just didn't know. But then after being divorced, several years later, she fell in love again, met my stepfather. At the time, my mother was 45, and he was 75. He had something going on, let me tell you. But anyway, being of a man of that era, that blue pill, no. He, because of men in that era, he took control of the finances. I mean, and she thought, well, you know what, that's how she grew up. Men were in control, so she let them do it. My stepfather died a couple of years ago at 105. She was 75 at the time, but you know what? He managed the finances until he was 101. Because that's what men did in that era. And she just assumed, and they were living fine, and but then he died at 105, and at 101 when he took over, she was 71. She didn't know what to do. She didn't know how much money they had. More importantly, she didn't know how much money they didn't have. And she was just lost, and she needed help. And, you know, she came to me, and, you know, I tried to help her a bit, and eventually she got her own personal advisor. She went to Merrill Lynch, which is okay, not Fidelity, but that's okay, because it was the relationship that she had there. So she decided that it was time that she got educated. But it was because of this, because of the fact that she didn't realize what she needed to do, that I decided I want to spend more time sort of helping women with their financial decisions. Let's see. So as women, what's holding us back in terms of finances? Well, a lot of us think that when you talk about money, that's taboo, that you just don't do it. But you know what? We talk about our men, we talk about our children, we talk about our health, which are all very personal conversations, but we feel like money is too personal to talk about. And then we are just not confident, as I said. 80% of us are comfortable with putting together a little budget. We know what's coming in, we sort of know what's going out, but we're not confident around planning for retirement and investing. And a lot of us women don't see ourselves really as an investor. But if you have a 401k plan or an IRA plan, you know what? You're an investor. Then many of us say, you know what? I'm just too busy. I got my kids, you know, I got work, I got the community, I'm doing stuff in church, I'm a caregiver. A lot of us are taking care of our parents, our children. So we're saying, you know what? I'm too busy. I need a wife. I just can't do all of this, right? And then we just don't know, as I say, where to get started. So what we have to do is, because women are really taking control of the wealth in this nation, by 2020, I believe, women will control $22 trillion of the wealth in this economy. And out of 9 of us, out of 10 in this room, will end up like my mother. You'll either be divorced, or you will be a widow because your husband has passed away. And that means you will be in control of your finances. And then we have to, you know, we have to realize our daughters are watching what we're doing. So we want to make sure that they get the information that they need. So the bottom line is, women, we got to get stuff done. We got to get in gear, we got to get ready, and we got to get equipped. Because we're going to live a long time. You know, black women are living, you know, way into their 90s. And we also are constrained a little bit because women make what around, if you're lucky, around 70 cents on the dollar, right? And we're in and out of the workplace because we're caregivers. So that makes it extremely difficult for us to save. But you know what? There is a way and there is a plan. We just have to get organized, ladies. We got to build that plan, and we got to start thinking about our future. So we're good in saving, as I mentioned. We're good in terms of taking risk. We don't take extraordinary risk. A lot of men tend to do that, but we're very focused. We're very holistic when we think about planning. We don't just save for the car or the vacation or retirement. Women look at the entire picture in terms of trying to figure out how to invest. So we have a good start. But in terms of building a plan, let me just leave some simple steps for you. And remember, it's never too late to get started. But first of all, what you have to do is you got to take some action, and then you can thrive. So educate yourself. There are a lot of resources on the panel, a lot of information that will help you understand some of the very simple investment concepts. And then if you don't already do it or don't already have it, build a budget. And then if you are working for a company that has a retirement plan, a 401k plan or a profit sharing plan, sign up. Don't leave money on the table. A lot of companies will match your contributions in the plan. So if you don't at least contribute the maximum to your plans, which is generally around 15%, at least contribute to the match. If not, as I said, you're leaving money on the table. And then if you have high interest rate credit cards or other debts, try to pay them down as soon as possible. And then an emergency fund, at least 3 to 6 months of savings. And talk to your spouse. When it's time to do the taxes, don't just say, okay, where do I sign? Be engaged and involved in that process. And try to save at least, if you can, 10 to 15% of your salary. I grew up in Texas, and so I'm a Southern Baptist, and so I grew up tithing. So for you tithe, just think, 10 cents out of every dollar, sort of put that away. And then as you save in the retirement plans or tax advantage plans, but there are also tax advantage plans for saving for college, like a 529 plan. If you're in a company that doesn't have a 401k, you can go to a lot of your financial advisors about setting up an individual retirement plan. And if you have your own business, you can set up some simple plans, as they're called, or KEO plans. And then make sure you're properly allocated. If you're older than 50, there are some catch-up opportunities. You can put a little bit more in your plan, and you want to make sure that from a retirement standpoint, you're investing so that your money can last. So as I said, you want to make sure that you reach your dreams and you want to thrive. So in terms of reaching your dreams, I just have a quick video of a grandmother, I've shown this before, that started early. She took control of the situation and saved.
My name is Marion Louise Teresa Stanger Barnett. I was born July 17, 1921, the ninth of 11 children. Every Sunday, my mother would clean out every drawer to find 5 cents. I never had a nickel other than that. The only time I thought I was poor was one time I unwrapped my sandwich out of my yesterday's paper, and the kids around me said, "Marion eats lard." Then when I got out of high school and business college, I joined the service on January 13, 1943. A couple of months later, I married the man of my dreams, Fred Barnett, in San Francisco in Chinatown. When Freddie and I got married, we decided never to live beyond our income, his income. Mine I put in the bank. When we went to buy a car one time, Freddie said, "Let's go." I said, "I don't want a new car." I said, "I don't want to spend the money." He said, "Let's go." So we went down to see Jimmy at this car place, and we looked at it, and he liked it, and I liked it. And he said, "Okay, Jim, we'll take it." Jimmy said, "Well, how are you going to pay for it?" And I said, "Give me the bottom line." And he did, and I reached in my pocketbook and got out my checkbook and wrote him a check. Freddie said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm paying for the car." He said, "I didn't know we had that much money in the bank." And I said, "Well, if you had asked me, I'd have told you." But you have to learn how to take care of your money. Just now, I've got my jardinier by the door. I bet I've got $500 and change in that. My mother would have been proud of me. I've saved for 2 years to sky jump. Jumping out of the airplane was something I wanted to do. And Freddie wouldn't go with me. I said, "Come on, Freddie, let's go do it." He said, "I don't want to." And I said, "Coward." And my kids wouldn't do it. My daughter said she did it in Cleveland, but I have a big doubt about that. And then when Tiffany called, says, "Grandma, I'm going to be 30 next year. Would you jump out of an airplane with me?" And I said, "Sure. Let's go now." When I signed in, they all marveled. "How old are you?" I said, 90. Oh my gosh, I wouldn't do it for the world. I said, I might be stupid, but I can fall out of an airplane. And the most apprehension I had was sitting on the plane, waiting to get altitude. But once we got there and he said, we're going to go out at 3, I said, you better push. He did. 3 and off we went. It isn't scary, just floating through the clouds. No, we're in the clouds doing it. And he talked all the way through it. Now look down, you'll see the church. And look down, you'll see where you live. And look down, blah, blah, blah. It's an experience. It really is. You can just sit and do nothing. But I don't. If I sit and do nothing, I'm bored. I'd rather save my money and jump out of an airplane again. That's more fun.
So save your money so you too can jump out of an airplane.
Who's the next speaker? Mr. Murphy. Every year I hear that story about 45 and 75. Her mama and the man she married. That's an amazing story. That's before pharmaceutical enhancement. I just want you to, and I ain't saying it's true about her mama, but you know, you married a 75-year-old man, you 45, you figuring, all right, 5 years. I'm gonna get that dough. And then you start looking at the clock after 10 years. When you going to see Jesus? Moral of the story is, but let's bring up right now Brother Bruce Murphy, the Executive Vice President and Head of Corporate Responsibility for Key Bank, today's title sponsor.
Well, good morning. The energy in this room tells me that y'all interested in this topic. And, you know, one of the things that I realized is that we got so many authors who have written books on this panel. Sounds like I need to go write a book. But my topic today is both simple and hard. I'm going to talk about something that you have heard about before and before and before. But it's one of those things that we tend not to ultimately do. So I want to talk about the journey between financial education, which is about getting information about your finances, to getting to a place where you are financially well. And the analogy I want to use is that when you go to your doctor, he doesn't only talk about, or she doesn't only talk about the symptom. She wants to talk about the things you need to do to get well. And so the analogy is the same as we think about financial wellness. You talk about getting education, and that's just about helping excuse me, my phone is doing something in my pocket. And I didn't try to do that. So in any event, the journey is really about first getting education, moving to once I have education, then learning what to do about what I've learned. And then getting to a place where I am confident. We just heard Pamela talk about the lack of confidence that people have. And I'll tell you financial wellness for our company. It's moving clients from financial education to financial wellness as a journey which is intentional, it is measured, and it's disciplined. That's the last part of that is what we struggle with. Continuing to do what we say we want to do with our finances. That's always the struggle. But 55% of consumers, 55% of consumers are not confident. That's not my phone. 55% of consumers are not confident in their financial future. What that really means is that they have no view of where they're going to end up. 55%. But 71% of them want to do something about it. They want to do something about their financial future. So the difference between lack of confidence but wanting to do something about it is what this journey is really about. In the African American community, 48% of African Americans, at a higher rate than the broader population, is interested in engaging through technology on this particular subject. They are not, so the myth oftentimes in our community is that we're not agile. We don't use technology. That's absolutely a myth. And we oftentimes hear, so as a bank, as we are seeing the shift from people walking in our branches to using technology, we have more transactions using mobile than we have people coming into the branch. And that's also true in the African American community. And so we would believe that African Americans wouldn't come to the branch because folks would say they don't treat me right. But even when you treat them right, they still prefer to use mobile. They still prefer to use mobile. And they also, and this is not a surprise, they also lean on faith-based organizations. Faith-based organizations, more so than the general population, to get their information. Why is that? It is about trust. It's about who do they in fact trust. And so that's a significant opportunity for financial institutions to in fact engage with faith-based organizations so that we in fact have the ability to impact those who are seeking this kind of information. So financial wellness is about receiving a holistic diagnostic review. A holistic diagnostic review that informs the client of their financial position and given options to address improving their financial health. I will tell you, the problem that we often have is that we don't know what our numbers are. We don't know what our numbers are. And you go to the doctor, and the doctor says to you, do you know what your blood pressure is? Do you know what your cholesterol is? We don't even sometimes want to know. And we do things that sometimes help us just deny the reality. And so something that happens with me every now and then. So my wife will say to me, do you know what the balance on the credit card is? I said, no, honey, tell me. And when she tells me, I say, Because if you don't pay attention, things get out ahead of you. If you don't pay attention, and it's fundamental to being able to get financially well. We have a financial wellness experience at our company. That what we are trying to do is provide three things. We want to provide you with information that's easily accessible, that's easily understood, and is real time. So anytime as a client you sign on to your account, it's an app, what pops up is your numbers. It tells you every day what your numbers are. Then the second component is, what can I do about this terrible credit score? First of all, do I know what a credit score is? Oftentimes we don't. How many of you look up your credit score on a regular basis? This is an unusual population. Because many more folks have no idea what I'm asking when I ask the question. But we're more informed here, probably because y'all been here 3 or 4 years, and so somehow we've been educating. But the point is, do you even understand how that impacts your ability to make choice? How do you understand that when my loan gets priced higher because of my lower credit score versus somebody else who has a better credit score? By the way, you can typically look at, so we talk about wealth disparity, and we talk about, the majority population versus our population. The poor pay more. The poor pay more. And it's because we don't spend the time understanding these basic kinds of activities on a regular basis. You can't get well until you do something about it. My grandmama would say, you can't do better, boy, until you know better. You can't do better until you know better. And it's about managing the information. So we happen to have this app called Hello Wallet that tracks all of your spending. You provide information on your accounts, it will give you a budget. You don't have to make one up. It'll tell you what you are spending. So I discovered recently that I was spending over $1,000 on Starbucks. Now I know I stepped on somebody's toes in here. I like that green tea latte. $4.15.
Is that per year?
That's a year.
Oh, year.
A year. I was spending. That's a whole lot of latte. That's a latte 5 days a week. It's a latte 5 days a week. And so I'm spending over $1,000 on some latte. I'm bringing my green tea. But the point is, that's the kind of information this system gives you, because it will tell you what you're doing. You can decide that I'm okay with that. But if you got more month than you got money, you're gonna make a different choice. You need to make a different choice. So the point here is ultimately having information. You can't do anything without information. And so, once you have information, then you can talk about, what do I do with it? And where do I go to get help? So we talked about saving, we talked about investing. Those things can happen when I have information. So this financial wellness score, we actually give you a wellness score, which is not a credit score. But what it does is it talks about your spending, it talks about savings, it talks about credit cards. Now, I'm just going to tell you that credit cards are the thing that get us on the bad road most of the time. Because just like my wife looks at it every month and says, what are you doing? And sometimes I got to look at her and say, what you doing? But the point is, it is about having the right kind of knowledge. Health coverage. If there's one thing that gets us oftentimes in a bad financial situation, it's when we have a health disaster and we got these health bills and we got these medical bills. But signing up for your benefits, it is amazing to me. For early part of my career, I worked in human resources. And it was always amazing to me how many people don't understand the benefits that the company offers, and how many of us don't take full advantage of what's there. And this is where I think we leave so much money on the table. Pam just talked about that. We leave money on the table because we don't take the time to fully understand all of our benefits, not just the medical benefits, But there are other benefits that companies offer that ultimately we don't fully take advantage of. And then there are other loans, insurance. You know, sometimes we see insurance as one of those things that are nice to have. But the moment you need it, it ain't nice to have. It's a must-have. And so we oftentimes put that lower on the scale. But that is about protecting your wealth. It's about protecting yourself. And so it's not a nice to have. It's one of those things that if you intend to be financially well, what does that mean? It means that you have control, that you have understanding, that you have enough information that you can make intelligent choices. And there are some of these other things. Retirement is one of those things that, for younger folks, I have this conversation with my 30-year-old and 33-year-old all the time. Both of them make good money. And they still on my payroll. Because they spend like tomorrow is something different. And so, you know, these little millennials and, you know, good jobs and feeling good, they want to be in Toronto. They want to be in Paris. They want to be in other places. And I'm saying you need to be getting ready to retire, because Social Security may not be what it's like today. If you lean in on that, you may have something that's more of a challenge. So the point is, think about how you want to retire today. Think about the income you have today. If you had to retire on that income 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 20 years from now, what is it like? You got to make a choice. So, getting to financial wellness, what does it mean? It means that you have an understanding of your spending. And that's about information. Emergencies. Because the emergency ain't shown up, I ain't preparing for it. But when it shows up, it can be a catastrophe. And so you heard Pam say 3 to 6 months. You know, I will tell you that I had a brother who was a diabetic, lost his leg, and lost his job. He had 6 months. If it weren't for that 6 months, he would have lost everything. He would have lost everything. Getting guidance. You have to find a trusted advisor who's going to be able to provide for you sound and appropriate advice that fits what you are trying to accomplish. So have a view of what you want and where you want to be, and find that person. Now, you know, in our company, you can go to a branch. I don't care if you got $50 or $50,000, and you can get guidance through this Hello Wallet process. It doesn't matter. So you can have your profile. The app will also make suggestions for you about whether you should increase savings. You know, and sometimes that's hard. If, again, as I said, you got more month than you got money, you have to do something that ultimately begins to help you with that. I talked about the value of benefits, and you heard Pam just talk about investments. When you are managing those 5 things, you can ultimately begin to declare that you're moving to financial wellness. And so, again, it's about discipline, it's about focus, it's about having information, and it's about making choices. Thank you.
I'm going to have to depart to the great state of Ohio. I want to thank the great Congresswoman Beatty for taking over and doing her thing. And I'm going to introduce Susan Taylor, and that $1,000 a year on the Starbucks. Y'all need to track y'all stuff too. Some of y'all pass out tips and singles. If you cut that by half, you could pay for your kids' books. Susan L. Taylor, the Queen of Black America, will now address us.
All righty. Well, this is a powerful day, a powerful learning. And we just thank you. You're going to be thanked a lot today, Congresswoman Beatty. But just thank you for, can I have a handheld mic so I don't have to lean down? Is that possible? Yeah? Okay. Thank you. So, just thank you. The outpouring, the numbers here speak loudly about our interest. Thank you. And of course, I always wonder why people would ask me. I mean, I know a lot about a few things, but why people would ask me to speak about money. And when I think about it critically, I've been focused on wellness in body, mind, spirit, and community for our people for the last 50 years. And more than anything, what I know we need is a new consciousness about who we are, our value, our worth, what we're able to achieve. When you walk into those systems that hardly ever receive us well and treat us well, we have to understand what our free labor and underpaid labor over 300 plus years gave, not just to America, but to the Western Hemisphere. I always used to say that if I didn't have to pay anybody, I would have had 10 magazines, not one. But it's all good. You know, it's everything that comes our way, every humiliation, every bit of pain, the most pain I've ever had, it's not been around a marriage that didn't work. Thank God for my beloved Kefra here, whom I adore. People already met you when you introduced Michael Eric Dyson. And it wasn't the first marriage that bit the dust. It was not being able to pay my rent and thinking that the lights were going to be cut off and wondering how I was going to keep food on the table for my Shauna and myself. Those were the most stressful moments in my life. But everything that comes our way is also a wake-up call. And the wake-up call for, I think, all of us is really to manage what society promotes. We just believe we have to have everything that is fly and fabulous. And it comes out of our history of denial. We drive what we can't afford. We live where we can't afford to live. We're drinking what we shouldn't be drinking. If it's $1,000 a year that we're spending on latte, you're right to bring but get Oprah's chai tea, because that's Starbucks and it comes back to CARES and 4 other organizations. She's really a generous spirit. It's the undisciplined pursuit of more. The undisciplined pursuit of more. We have to have another. I think last year I had this same bag. Can you hold my orange bag up? It's so beautiful. You know, and it looks like the real deal, but it's a fake. Because were it real, that bag would cost about $4,000. I'm not giving $4,000 of my hard-earned dollars to any company to carry around their bag. And I just say, you know, I think I might have had this on last year. I've walked into rooms where they played a video, and Susan Taylor was here last year, and it's like, whoops, here I am standing in the same outfit I had on last summer or the year before when I visited. It's not a fashion show. We are in a war for our survival. And we can't win this war with a broken, poor army. So we have got to discipline ourselves. Let's look at what's happening in our communities. I don't know if you saw the piece, and you might have seen it on the O Channel, on Sag Harbor. It's one of the few black resort communities in the nation. If you went to Sag Harbor today, where Kefra and I have a home, we built it. It was an all-black community. And now that community is probably, I don't know the percent, but it may be moving toward 20 to 30% white. It's happening all over the country. It's happening all throughout Ohio. It's happened in Los Angeles already. The black communities in Los Angeles have already been dispersed. We see it happen in Brooklyn and Harlem, you name the place. I remember people picking me up from airports over the years and saying to me, Joyce, oh, you know, we used to live over here, but I'm now looking at like the industrial complexes that are built in the places that used to be the black community. And I'm not pointing the finger at anybody. And let me say what I understood for the first time. When people outside of the race started moving into our communities, I understood what they felt when we moved into theirs. This was ours until others came. And I said, stop that, Susan. You don't want to feel that way. But I remember a couple of years ago when this began to happen, it happened in Harlem first. And we said, wow, people, we have to put our money together. This is what black folks were talking about. We're going to pool our money, we're going to buy these properties, and we're going to make sure that they stay in black hands. We don't have a plan. We do not have a plan. We show up for the party, but not the purpose. We have to understand, this is I could bring it back to the spiritual concept of this being a world of abundance. Each of us has everything we need to live freely and fully and wonderfully. It doesn't mean that our lives aren't going to fall apart. Anything that happens in our lives, it's a wake-up call. I came to understand the importance of really saving my money because the marriage fell apart. Married to Billy Bowles for all the wrong reasons. He was so cute and took me to dinner every night and had 2 beauty salons, and I'm fully married. The marriage ended, and I moved from being a middle-class housewife, to a poor single mother overnight. I'm working at Essence. Essence is a new fledgling magazine making, $500 a month. My rent was $368. The car was broken. And you can understand how stressed I was. By Sunday, I couldn't breathe. I thought I was having a heart attack. Went to the hospital. I found that I was having an anxiety attack and not a heart attack. And I left that hospital and I started, it was in New York City, Broadway. I started walking up Broadway. And I looked up and there was a sign that said United Palace, church service, 3 p.m. I grew up Catholic. And I grew up in an environment where Catholics are home having, supper at 3 p.m. And this was 3 p.m. and the folks were in there praising God. Well, I walked into the back of that auditorium and I sat and I heard a sermon that changed my life. And when I leave D.C. and Baltimore on Sunday, I will go to the memorial service for that Reverend Alfred Miller. Let me call his name and just say thank you, Rev, because he saved my life in many ways. What he shouted at the congregation was, the Holy Spirit is alive in you. God is alive in you. I'd never heard that before. I thought it was blasphemous. I grew up believing that, in the word was, in the Bible was the power, the Bible itself. The statues, the saints that were in the church, that they had some power. Nobody ever said that there was anything divine in us. But I began writing about that in 1981. And even before that, when I was the beauty editor of Essence, that we have it all. But when we look outside of ourselves for affirmation, that's when you have to have all the bling and all the stuff, because nobody's going to like you or love you because you have a fine bag or a beautiful suit on. You want to be loved for who you are on the inside. Every dime spent is a political decision made. Every dime spent is a political decision made. I feel good when I'm donating to an African American who is running for political office and I know they're going to benefit our community. I feel good when I put money into a black, ophthalmologist's hands. I feel good when I'm putting money into any black doctor's hands or any black professional, an accountant. So we have to really come back to learning how to love ourselves, value our own. Value our own. I left that church that day. I had $5 to my name, and I was not spending it on a cab or a bus. I walked home, back to the Bronx. And I walked home saying, the Holy Spirit is alive in me. I mean, it sounded crazy to me. But the Holy Spirit will bring you to the edge. Bring you to the edge to awaken you. Every pain you've ever had, every loss, every stress, it's only for your awakening. That next morning, I got up and I said, Holy Spirit. Now, I was stressed because the lights are going to be turned off. Daddy had died. Mommy had no money. How was I going to take care of myself? But I awakened that next morning and I said, I'm going to do what that minister said. Let me just be quiet. Where is your quiet time? The time to do what Pam and Bruce were talking about, to just be quiet and think about your life, to look at what you have. There's an interesting piece about retirement that I read recently in the New York Times. And it said 75% of Americans nearing retirement age in 2010 had less than $30,000 in their retirement accounts. Now, if it's 75% for the general population, you can imagine what it is for us, right? And to maintain living standards into old age, we need roughly, this was frightening, 20 times our annual income in financial wealth. So if you're lucky enough to make $100,000 a year, you need $2 million when you retire. And I know this is what I know about life and about spirit. It's never too late. It is never too late to change your attitude, to change your mind, to change your behavior, to change your relationship with yourself first, believing that you're here on purpose with a purpose and that everything you say and do resounds back to you in some way. You know, I say it's not a fashion show. I may have had this on again. It'll always be fly, but it's not going to be new. It doesn't have to be new to be fly, and we have to get over that. You know, this is even beyond us. This is about our community. Our community, we don't want to say it, but we're losing ground. And we need you, we need us. We need able, stable black people to do what we have never done. Well, since I want to say the Montgomery bus boycott, link arms and aims and stand for something. Link arms and aims with a plan. And say, you know, we're not buying your whatever until you do this, that, and not some kind of a rational deal, but something that is well thought out. Oh, here's a company where African American people were doing well and then they had to downsize and disproportionately we were let go. We need to take account of that and stand up and say to that organization, this cannot happen on our watch. You let us go disproportionately, we're not going to buy your whatever it is you're selling. The only thing that is understood in capitalism, in a capitalist society, is what? Money. And it's all tied to Wall Street. It's all tied to profit. We are a market, nothing more. And with that, I just want to ask our new leader of the National Cares Mentoring Movement, Siobhan Williams, to stand, our executive director, who I prayed for and who is here and who is so smart and who is leading us forward. And I want to ask Stephen Powell, who is our National Chief Program Officer, to stand, National Cares Mentoring Movement. These are two people who were hired away from major, major brands to come and work for our community on behalf of our people. And we don't have the infrastructure that those organizations had. They're building it for us. I want to ask our leaders, National Cares leaders, we have a few of them here. Would you all stand so people can see you? Please. We have Andrea, we have Catherine, we have Stephen. We have folks here who have given their time, energy, and effort. They're not paid to do this. The volunteer army that we have built around the country, who really are teaching wellness in body, mind, spirit, and community. What I want to really end my conversation with you about is really collaboration. Collaboration. It's the thing that we do not do well. And I think, Bruce, you mentioned the issue of trust. Being enslaved taught us not to trust one another. And it's deep. Read The Warmth of Other Suns if you've not read it, by Isabel Wilkerson. It really is such a seminal and important work, The Warmth of Other Suns. Very, very important. Another book I would recommend to you, I love that it's written by a white scholar, because people will believe it, you know? It's The Half That's Not Been Told. Baptiste, not Baptiste. Don't put an E on. He's not from New Orleans. It's a nice white guy. The Half That's Not Been Told. And The Half That's Not Been Told really lays out how our enslavement during a short period of time built the cotton industry that didn't only spark the Industrial Revolution, but created the wealth not just of the United States, but of the entire Western world, the entire Western world. So when you go to Paris, and you go to Italy, and you see those magnificent cathedrals, know that it's the blood, sweat, and tears of our ancestors that gave those countries the wealth to build those magnificent edifices. When you walk into those places where you don't feel welcome, know that it's our ancestors' free labor that created the wealth of this nation. So I'm saying to you, the Holy Spirit's trying to help us, but we have to help God help us. God, Allah, Jehovah, Yahweh, whatever you call the divinity. That means we have to show up differently, believing this. You're more than you seem. You're human and divine. Life loves you. And what you say is what comes back to you. What you believe is what you concretize. And so, you know, that day I left that church, I went home. I got up that next morning and I said, you know, I'm going to do what the minister said. I'm just going to be quiet and listen. Quiet. Where's your quietness? Everything is beeping, buzzing. We're texting, we're Facebooking, we're tweeting. Stop. The cacophony of the world, push it back. Give yourself 20 minutes a day just to lay in silence. You will be blown away by what life, that still small voice that we refer to, will bring to you, will give to you. Everything you need to know. Who you need to apologize to. What you need to be doing with your money. There's a lot that you can read and you need to, but there's so much wisdom within you. I got an idea that next morning after visiting United Palace. And it just said, call the Ophelia DeVore School of Charm, a little modeling school down on 53rd Street and Broadway in New York City, and ask them if they would like the beauty editor of Essence, because that's what I was at the time, to come and teach the models how to put on makeup and do their hair. I made the call. Oh, we've heard of Essence, we've not heard of you, but hold on. Jackie Wellington got on the phone. What is your name? Oh, Susan Taylor. Okay, you're we'd love to have you with one phone call. With one phone call, my salary increased by 40% because I took quiet time, I listened within, and I responded. So life is trying to give you all the ideas you need. I don't care what kind of job you have and who's paying you whatever. You know what? You have to have a gig on the side if you mean to build wealth. If you know how to bake sweet potato pies, bake them and sell them. If there's something else you know how to do, do that. Turn it into a business. This is our time to rise. And we have to do it together, linking arms and aims and learning how to trust one another again. Thank you.
Wow. That's right. Wow. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Susan Taylor. I hope you're enjoying this program. So here's where we're at. We know lots of you will have questions. We also have some lunches that we're going to give. We have 3 more presenters. We're going to ask you to bear with us. We're going to ask the presenters. We've got someone in the back with a sign. When you see the sign at the microphone, it means you have to wind down because we want to make sure that we have a great audience here. We are streaming live. I want you to also know that. But we have 3 to go, and it is my honor to ask Ray Odom, Northern Trust Chicago, Senior Vice President, Director of Wealth Transfer Services, to come. He will be followed. I'll come back up because this sister is bad. Gloria Mayfield Banks is going to come, and you are in for a treat. And she will be followed by another newcomer. And this brother is equally as bad as the brothers that you have seen before him. And he comes from the General Motors Company. And he brought a whole group of people here. And that would be Gerald Johnson. Come on, Ray. Let's talk about investment.
Money, wealth, and disparity. Secrets of success. Well, you know, the first thing you got to do if somebody tells you a title, you got to say, look. What I got to do is I got to figure out what the definitions of this stuff is. So the first thing we got to figure out the definition of secrets. Well, that's easy. A secret is something you can't tell everybody. That's why you tell people one at a time. Now, success is a little different. Success has to do with this. Success is the accomplishment of a worthy goal, that brings well-being and prosperity. So now you're thinking, okay, the accomplishment of a worthy goal that brings well-being and prosperity. Oh, I get it. This brother gonna get up and tell me, get more money, you'll feel better, and everything will be good. Not quite. So here's what I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you that so much of what you do, who you are, and how you think about money has to do with the levels that you're at with your wealth. So we're gonna talk about the levels of wealth. Then I'm going to quickly give you the secret. The secret's already up there, so you kind of already got an inside view. I'm going to give you that secret. I'm going to break it down for you to show you why that secret works for you. And then here's the thing I want to try to end with. I want to show you that in this room, we black people have the ability to do something with wealth that literally, not figuratively, literally is out of this world. We have a chance to be transformational in a new way, adding meaning to things that people don't even understand even now. So let's start. So first of all, we got to talk about this whole thing about levels of wealth. And what I did is I came up with 5 levels. Now 5 levels, you got to understand something about 5 levels. That's A, B, C, D, and F. Now F, it's funny. It's not A, B, C, D, and E. I never understood why in school don't give people E's when you're at the bottom. They give you an F. And the thing about an F, think about it. It's it starts with a lot of stuff. Failed. Fatal. There's a lot of F words that are kind of bad, you know what I'm saying? Not going there. But the reality is it's failing. And you know what? Poverty is failing. In poverty, you have 0 resources. One more time, 0 resources. Your focus is just on getting help. And in that level, and there's some people that are really failing and others, but at the bottom line, and what's interesting about poverty is when you see it, it always calls for a response from you. One more time, when you see poverty, a human being always will have a response, and that response is to try to help. But the reality is these folks are in trouble, and that's a problem. That's failing. Well, then there's the people who are getting the D's. Those are the survival group. Now, the survival group is basically people who are $1 away from disaster. All right? And so the problem with that program is that when you're $1 away from disaster, what are you focused on? That's right, getting the next dollar. Right? I mean, you really are focused on the limitation of your resource. It's not even that you're focusing on money. You're just focusing on the fact of, how do I get on the bus? Is my car going to drive? Is the phone bill really going to get paid? That's the kind of thing that goes on at the survival level. And it's kind of rough. I put down, it's a rough life. People say, well, those so-and-so people, they're kind of rough. Dude, you would be rough too if every day you were worried about whether you're going to be able to pay for your prescription. So the reality is, that's survival. And there's about 60 million Americans living in that area. Wow. And I love the word D because D means it's unsatisfactory. So here's the problem. The next level up is lifetime, and it's a lifetime of lifestyle. Lifetime lifestyle. And this is the problem. Here's the problem. That Sister Susan said that it's really good. Here's what happens is, when you have most of your life, or people at the survival level, what represents total, complete success for you? That's right, getting to lifestyle. Yes. You see, that's why if your focus is, I'm in the survival mode, if I see somebody who's got enough for their lifetime, I'm like, wow, this is it, this is all. What else should I look for? And of course, here's the problem. Now let's look at what the lifestyle people are focused on. They're focused on lifestyle. That's why it's already been mentioned. People come and they want to make sure that they got that lifestyle, right? So the bling comes out, the stuff comes out. Hey, I have arrived. Okay? And the problem is that focused on lifestyle is long-term, that will not make you successful. Long-term, it's a problem. But America needs it because we need you to be a consumer. Home Depot needs you getting that bigger house. They need you to fill it up with their stuff. And so that's our focus. And if, as a people, we never focus past there, well, that's the problem. So then there's the next part, and it's called legacy wealth. Now, legacy wealth, that's kind of where my company comes in, right? I work for the Northern Trust Company, and I talk to people every day, which is why I'm bringing you advice. I'm bringing you advice from people who got all the money you would ever want. And these people have between 50 million to 5 billion. And I talk to them. I know their families. I work with them. And they're about something that's different from what most of us are about. They're about legacy planning. And you know why they're about legacy planning? Because they got more money than they can spend in a lifetime. Okay? So now the question they have is what to do with it. But they have a problem. Let me tell you what their problem's like. Today, if I gave you a really nice pen that had the Northern Trust Company on it, how many of you would take that pen home with you? Let me see your hands. How many of you would take home a really nice pen if I gave it to you? You know, right? Okay, good. Thank you for John. Now here's the problem. That is exactly, you see, the problem that most people have. If they I got a free pen today. The problem with legacy people is that they don't understand a principle I'm about to give you. When you get that pen, I know something about you. You don't need that pen. You know how I know that? You already had pens. You got pens at home. You got pens in your pocket. You have plenty of pens, but you're going to take that pen. You know why you're going to take that pen? For the same reason those legacy people keep that money. Because here's the problem. When we get something, our natural predisposition is to hold on to it. And that's the problem with legacy wealth, you see. Legacy wealth people are holding on to that wealth, and they're hiring us, and we're happy to talk to them because we say, look, we'd like to charge you a fee to hold on to that wealth. So we charge you a fee, you hold on to it, and life is good, right? And of course, what they're focused on is the benefit to the beneficiaries, and that's a good thing. We want to have money to create a legacy. We want to have money to pass on to people, but there's more. I bet you thought there was. And that's the last part, and that's transformational wealth. Permanent, positive change. And instead, they are thinking in terms of invested resources. You see, the only thing that makes people open up their hands, what makes people open up their hands, ultimately? Yeah, death. They die. Gone. All right? And so the reality is that's how they transfer wealth. So I sit around and they're so upset. Well, what about the estate tax? And what about this tax? They're going to take, dude, you leaving that money anyway. How much money did Rockefeller leave? All of it. That's something. So the reality is when you're going to leave that kind of money, the point is, what's next? And it's transformational wealth. And here's the good news. Sure, Bill Gates does transformational giving because he takes his money and he tries to change the world. There's no doubt about that. His foundations are making a difference. But here's the key. Transformational wealth does not require that you have Bill Gates' money. It just requires that you have a transformational mindset. That's the secret to success. So now you're saying, okay, Ray, let's say I buy this. Where are we going with this? Well, let me give you my secret. It's VIM with vigor. V-I-M. V-I-M. First, V, vision. Here's what you got to do. In order to make a transformation, you have to be transformational. Sister Susan already talked about it. The first thing is you have to focus on you. What I would tell you is the first thing you got to focus on is you have to focus on being good. Being good. The reality is you have to be good. You have to be good. How do you do that? Number one, understand your calling. Understand your calling. Number two, understand that you have to have competencies around that calling. So God told you what to do, but now you got to go out and develop that. Then when you develop that, that takes work. When you have work developing your calling and your competencies, guess what that develops? Yeah, character. And that character makes you have integrity. So now you've got that. Now you have to decide on two kinds of things. You have to decide what kind of thing you're going to focus on. Are you going to focus on resume virtues? They're not bad. Resume virtues are the stuff you put down to get another job, to get something. You put it down so someone will give you something. Those are good. You got to get those. Or you can focus on eulogy virtues. Eulogy virtues. It's the kind of thing that people will say about you when you're not around anymore. Now, if you're really rich, you know what people say when you're not around? Why didn't you die earlier? I wanted that money. Oh, yeah, I have people all the time have a conversation. Well, no, Mr. Odom, I don't want to say anything, but, if mom were to die, what they're really saying is, will mom hurry up and die? Because the reality is, when you're focused on accumulating money and you've got this going on, everybody's just waiting for you to do this, okay? But the reality is, if you're creating eulogy virtues, it's a whole different thing. My best example of eulogy virtues was President Obama when he talked about Congressman Pinckney. When he got to the end, he looked out and he said, I don't know how else to sum it up. Congressman Pinckney was a good man. And by the way, just so for the record, Congresswoman Beatty is a good woman. Now, and here's the thing. The reality is that as soon as that happened, what you wanted to say is, I want that. You could feel the loss. You could feel the pain. It's like, we need him. We need him. Now, if we got him, we got his money. People weren't worried about his money. They want him. That's the virtues you want to build. That's the virtues you want to build. Now, I've got to hurry ahead here. Intention, I. I is for intention. Now, here's the problem with intention. Let's say intention is just the decision. And that's been talked about 3 or 4 times. You got to have the decision. The decision is simple. You have to look at your actions and ask yourself, are my actions in line with what I said I was thinking? All right? If I decide to myself, I'm going to go, I'm in Chicago. I got 2 choices. Go to Glenarden Baptist or I can go to the Reno brothels. The point of it is I'm in Chicago. Do I go take a step west? That's toward Reno. If I'm walking towards Reno but telling you I'm on my way to Glenarden, what are you saying? Dude, something's wrong. Right, you're lost. And the funny thing about being lost is you don't know where you are. That's the whole problem. You don't know where you are. That's why you do have to get some Holy Spirit direction. But rushing ahead of myself a little bit. But the bottom line is you need to make a choice. So now you're into methods. Now, let me be quick about the methods. Here's the problem. The problem is you have to have two types of methods. The first method works not on your virtue, but on your vices. I'll put my hand up first, all right, just so no one's embarrassed. You know, you have to be vicious about your vices, and we all have them. But you may not have them. You might be one of those denial people living on that river in Egypt called denial. But look, you need to understand the reality is you've got a problem. And here's what happens. If you don't kill that problem early, you'll just get $1 billion and have the problem and be Bernie Madoff. That's all. So get the problem solved now. Okay. The other thing you have to have is you have to have some Serena Williams methods. I love these, right? Because she figured out what her calling was. Your dad kind of helped her with that. All of a sudden, she is just doing everything she can to try to get that competency figured out. She is getting better and better and better. And you know what happens? When you start improving on your competencies, you'll find other people doing the same thing. So the reality is, okay, you say, but Ray, you talked about vigor. That's what you have to have. Vigor is discipline, diligence, and deference. The big thing is, everyone's talked already about discipline and diligence. We got that. You got to have it, okay? But you have to have deference. And deference is the ability and the willingness to listen to other people. So now I got to get soulful jazz in here quick. I'm going to do it. The vigor with soulful jazz is this. Here's how life looks. It ain't a formula. It's like jazz music. You get your competency and you're playing and somebody else is next to you and they play something you have never heard. And you're like, what? What is that? And all of a sudden you go, okay, I can flow with that. And so you start playing again. That's how life is. And the people that handle the unexpected, they are the people who can really make it happen. So people who get a curve and they say, look, actually, no, we're ready to turn your light bills. Susan say, no, actually, I talked to Jesus, we're going a different direction, all right? So, that's the bottom line. It's jazz. Now, here's the thing about jazz music. The thing about jazz music, okay, the thing about jazz music is this, is that you have to keep listening for the bass line beat. You got to listen for it. You got to hear it. You got to hear that still small voice and everything. And the bottom line is black people have one thing that everybody wants. They had it in the 60s. We still have it. People want soul. Do your jazz with soul. Thank you. I'm done.
Now you see why we ask Ray to come back every year. At this time, Gloria, come on up this way. Hold on to your seats. You're in for a real treat. Gloria Mayfield Banks.
No, I don't. Thank you so much. Living, caring, giving, sharing. Boy, oh boy, I love to work with the daring. A magic million? Can you imagine such? Of course you can. We've got to touch. I'm small in stature only, but I'm heavy in belief. I'm leading by example, so you can count on me as I flash this $1 million smile. The world will know it's all worthwhile, because I'm banking on the magic, banking on success, banking on some people who simply want the best. I'm proud to be before you. I'm so proud to be top rank. I'm elite executive national sales director. My name is Gloria Mayfield Banks. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Wait. Let me tell you something. That's just the way I talk to myself when I get up in the morning. And I definitely had to say it after I listened to all these people on this panel. For real. Joyce, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Do you not love her energy, her insight, her dedication, her commitment? And look at this room. Look at this room. Double the size, double the size, double the size, you guys. I'm so excited that we're here today. I've learned a lot. I've been taking notes like crazy. How many of you have already learned a lot already this morning? It's amazing. And the secrets to success. I'm so excited to be a success strategist. I'm so excited to bring to you some things that maybe you've heard over and over again, but you need to hear them again right now. Did I tell you last week I was in Antigua? Did I tell you? That was just a couple of days I was in Antigua to celebrate my 20th anniversary of marriage. Very exciting, and a very special birthday. Did I tell you that? Who decides to do that in 3 weeks? Just take off and go to Antigua. My husband is an international negotiator, so he had to run off to Dubai and to Madagascar for a few days. Who does that kind of stuff? Who? We all do. We all can. Because 28 years ago, that wasn't my story. 28 years ago, Susan and I had to get a gig on the side. I had a great job. I was leaving 10 years of domestic violence. I was going to become a single parent of a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old that were 13 months apart. I had struggled all my life with dyslexia. They found out in the 7th grade that I had a reading disorder. But I still worked hard and went on to Howard University, so I love DC. And then I left DC to go to Boston to work for Polaroid Corporation where I was a manufacturing supervisor. And then left there and I took an opportunity to attend Harvard Business School, where myself and my sister are the only 2 African American women, sisters, that are graduate from Harvard Business School. And so it's been a great ride. I worked hard and left and took a job with IBM. And, you know, the story goes on and on. And what I want to hear in just that little piece of the story is that everybody is prepared for where you are today and where you're going to. No matter what your deal is, no matter what your struggle is, we're all prepared. I'm proud because I just finished the most magnificent, hardest race in my professional career. 3.5 million women in Mary Kay worldwide, covering 36 countries, and I am now #1 in Mary Kay. Thank you, I'm so excited. Woo! It's been great. I've stayed here for a couple of years talking about I'm #4, I'm #3. People say, what's your goal? What? It's obvious. But I want to tell you something. In this room, we're proud that Mary Kay is one of the sponsors of this, but in this room is an amazing sister. She is the Chief Marketing Officer, head of all global marketing operations for Mary Kay Incorporated. Her name is Cheryl Atkins Green. I know she's in this room. Cheryl, where are you? There she is right there. Fabulous woman. Head of all of it. So we're so excited. We always want you to know. Let me tell you what my topic is called. You are entitled. You are entitled. Because I want you to know when I walked into that pink world, I did not know that that was going to be my case. And so when we walk into those worlds, we don't automatically know, but I want you to know that everybody was looking at me as if I wasn't entitled. And do I drive a pink car? Yes. Is it big? Yes. General Motors, thank you very much for my pink Escalade. It's very pink. It's very big. So I want to tell you, entitlement. Listen, it says you're inherently deserving. And we talked so much already this morning about the spiritualness of how we are entitled. I want to tell you, God woke me up last August and he said it clearly in my quiet time. Gloria, your job is to teach the ordinary person how to create an extraordinary life. That's what I'm here to do. I know I'm passionate about being a role model, but my job is to teach the ordinary person how to create an extraordinary life. Let me tell you this, none of you are ordinary. No one is ordinary. All of us are extraordinary. But you don't have to be a celebrity to live an extraordinary life. You don't have to have some things that everybody else has. You just have to find those things within yourself. So I'm going to tell you a couple of what I consider to be some secrets. I'm so glad that you got the book Quantum Leap. I wrote it at a time when someone kept asking me to write a book. I said, no, you don't understand, I'm dyslexic. I do not write books. He said, no, I want you to understand, I'm dyslexic. I said, you own a book company and you're dyslexic? Okay, all right. That's what I want to tell you. Okay, so here's what I want to tell you. 10 really quick tips. 10, you got to have courage. In order for you to accept the entitlement that you have, you've got to have courage. I want to tell you that you have to know that encouragement has to be backed up with encouragement. Courage and encouragement. And the encouragement that you are to do is the amount that you give to other people. Their encouragement doubles the encouragement that you get back. Number 2, your gifts. Your gifts are not to be hidden. Your gifts are not to be hidden. And it is so important. Write this down or think about this. I want you to become unapologetic about your gifts. Because I used to apologize about my gift of charisma. People would say, Chloe, you're so charismatic. You're so charismatic. I said, oh, no. Now I say, oh, yes, you're correct. Be unapologetic. I want you to watch the way you think. the way you think, and choose the people that you hang around. You hear this all the time. Choose the people that you hear about. But here's what I want to ask you all to do. If you want to have a quantum leap and you want to become entitled, you hear that you're to choose the people that you're to hang around. But I want you to literally do it. I want you to excuse people from your life. I want you to say to them, I love you. I just can't hang around you right now. And it takes a lot to do that. I want you to be in control of your mind and pay attention, because your mind will tell you at 8 o'clock you can do it and at 8:15 you can't. And so all you can do for that is to pay attention to what you're thinking, because until you change the way you think, you can't change the way you talk. And the minute you change the way you talk, you change the way you act. So you've got to be in control. I want you to know what makes you tick, not what makes somebody else ticks. And don't be concerned with what you think they'd like to hear. But know what makes you tick. What makes me tick is the race. I know that makes me tick. What makes me tick is being a role model for other people. What makes me tick is I like to win. What makes me tick is I want to run the race. What makes you tick? Because if you can find out what makes you tick, then you can walk into any organization and say, I'm entitled to be at the top, and not waiting for someone else to always give it to you. I want you to know, don't expect others to understand. Stop trying to convince everybody to understand your particular dream. The minute you make a decision and you're confident in that decision, and then someone asks you the question, why did you do that? The minute you start to explain it, you are taking away your self-worth. I want you to know the words you speak to others is a gift of a flower or the pain of a brick. A flower lifts, shines. A brick hurts and is heavy and never goes away. I want you to know it's your history. Get it fixed. We all have a history. I'm telling you, therapy is okay if that's what you need. But whatever you have to do, get your history fixed so that you can walk in and be entitled. And the last thing I want to tell you is personal growth. You have to have it fixed. We heard it up here. Personal growth. So don't hide behind what you need to get fixed. Stay ahead of what you do, because your growth, your personal growth, is the number one thing that's going to make you move. Am I a speaker? Yes. Am I a motivational speaker? Yes. And do people try to take that and decrease the power of a motivational? No. Because I'm here to talk to those of you in this room that are already ambitious. Because if you're already ambitious, not talking to people who don't have a vision, but talk to people who have a vision, who want to take it further. If you're ambitious, then you need to be entitled and be unapologetic about it. Thank you.
Bad. Was I not correct? Was I not correct? And we're almost there. As I asked Gerald Johnson to please come forward, let me also do something else. I started this earlier by saying it's all about relationships, and we do things better when we do it together. Well, one of my colleagues just walked into the room, and that is Congresswoman Bonnie Watson Coleman. Please stand up. From the great state of New Jersey, the 12th Congressional District. Thank you so much, Bonnie, for being here. She's in her first term, and let me just tell you, I sit next to this sister on the floor every day, and every day I am inspired by your commitment, your work, and your service to your district and this nation. Thank you. Let me say one more thing. There is food. Lunch is going to be provided, and I'm going to give you the room number after Gerald speaks. Come on and give it to him from General Motors.
Congresswoman, I wasn't rushing you at all, but all the energy that's come off this panel has me ready to run through a wall, and I'm sure ready for many of you to run through the wall as well. Is this better? Oh, yeah, this is better. As I was introduce, my name is Joel Johnson, and I'm from General Motors. My current responsibility is Vice President of Operational Excellence, where we believe that everything can be made better. And I'm here with you this morning to help you become a little bit better, as the panelists that have gone before me are as well. On this slide here, there are two things going on in this slide, and they're both very intentional. One is not a shameless but a bold plug for General Motors products and services, because I'm proud of my company. I'm not just proud of my company for what we sell, I'm proud of my company for what we also do in investing in communities and environments and in people like yourself, like ourselves. Fact. $1 in our community spends about 6 hours before it leaves. Fact. In the white community, $1 lasts about 30 days. My perspective, if you are going to spend $1 and it's only going to last 6 hours in your community, you should at least be concerned with the people you're spending that $1 with is doing with the other 29 days and 18 hours. When you invest or spend your dollars with a company that is investing in you, you are spending your dollars more wisely. You are indirectly keeping those dollars circulating in your community. So you really ought to give a round of applause for every company and panelist represented on this board, because this is $1 coming back into your community whether you realize it or not. So I'm proud of my company. I'm proud to be a part of my company because we are socially responsible. It is stated in our existence, in our reason for being, why we are here and what we're here to do, is a quote here from Mary Barr. It says, one of the things that we are here to do is serve the communities in which we do business and we do work. You should expect that of anybody that you spend $1 with. They should be willing to serve and give back to the communities that you are participating in and to help make it better. My second slide, though, I want to share with you some of my stories, some of the roadways I see it to closing this thing that we talk about, a racial wealth gap. First of all, there are many ways to get there, but you can't grow wealth, transfer wealth, if you don't have some form of income. You have to have some way of bringing an income that you can then translate, multiply, and grow into wealth. The numbers on the chart there says, hey, one of the ways in our economy, in this global economy, in the United States, in this capitalist society that we live in, is you have to show that you have some capability and be about growing that capability. One of the fastest ways to do that, one of the surest ways to do that, of course, is to invest in yourself and educate yourself. Everyone on this panel is educated. Now, it's not the only way to develop capability. If you believe in the 10,000-hour rule, which says basically you spend enough time working on yourself to become a master at something, there are many ways to do that, but certainly education is one of those. My encouragement to you is master something that the economy is willing to pay you well for. And if you're going to master something, it is a function of time, diligence into it. A long time ago, I was inspired by this quote out of Proverbs from Solomon, who's deemed to be the wisest man to ever have lived. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. My question to you is, what are you thinking about? My question to you is, what have you done to develop your ability to think? My question is, how much thought have you given to your ability to translate capability into cash, cash into wealth, wealth into legacy, and even transformation? Along those roads, I had to learn some things. How many of you are first-generation college graduates? So that means somewhere after high school, your advice, your counsel, particularly in the areas of finances and maybe many other areas of life, you were somewhat on your own to trial and error. I had to learn how to handle a checkbook on my own. I had to learn how to stop calling it a savings account and start really using it as a savings account instead of my secondary checking account. I had to learn how to save before I spend. Pay myself before I pay everyone else. I had to learn to control my spending. Another pair of shoes and another suit does not create legacy or transformation. And then I had to learn how to invest. Not go look for stock tips. What's the latest thing you hear? Give me some insight on General Motors stock. Not a stock tip, but an investment strategy. They're very different. And then lastly, I would extend to you our responsibility, first generation, second generation college graduate, et cetera, is to help the next generation learn how to think well as well. There's so much uncovered, untapped brilliance in our elementary schools and in our junior high schools and in our neighborhoods, and it's untapped, and that's sad. A couple other facts just to leave you with, because I want you to be able to lean in with me on these. One, if your nephew, your grandchild, is not comfortable with reading by second grade, lean in and help them, because it's one of the predeterminants of whether or not they will ever actually finish high school, predictably so. If your niece or nephew is not comfortable with math by fourth grade, lean in and help them, because it's the second most likely predictor of whether or not they'll finish high school. If your niece or nephew, your grandchild, is not sure of the opportunities that their brilliance, their capability might allow them to take advantage of in terms of a field or career or calling, by 8th grade, lean in and start exposing them to some things so that they feel inspired to take on the journey of high school. And then for sure, lean them into college, because it's one of the surest ways to convert capability to cash and to earn more money so that you can have more money and have more wealth to grow, transfer, and transform. That was my journey. Let me ask you one more thing here, though, before I take my seat and we open up for questions. And that is, we talked a lot about finding your calling. We talked some about it, I should say. Even if you've never gone to Sunday school, you've heard it. Many are called, but few are chosen. Familiar? Even sound familiar? I'm not going to ask you chapter and verse, but it's in there. All right. So I don't want you to be one of the many that are called. Everyone's got a calling. We know that. It's what will it take to be chosen? And the willingness to be chosen, the ability to be chosen, is if you are willing to take on and hate the things that others are spending a lot of time investing in, because you know they don't take you where you want to go. So let them talk about your run over heels just a little while longer, because one day you'll have brand new heels to walk on, and they'll be really nice with red bottoms. Let them ask you why you're going to bed at 10 o'clock so that you can be sharp and functioning at 7 o'clock in the morning, green tea latte or not, so that you can put your best forward and shine brightly, and more brightly than the person who only got 3 hours, 4 hours of sleep last night. I want you to lean in not just to your calling, not just to your capability, but decide that you're going to do what it takes to make the sacrifices to be chosen. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I know you've been here for a while, and we're going to try to take a couple questions, but first let me say again, thank you to all of the speakers. Let me also say to you, if you came in at any portion during today's session, it is being streamed, and you can see it on the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation's website, and let's thank General Motors for doing that. I know Michael Eric Dyson thanked and introduced the sponsors, but I would be remiss if I did not do it again. We cannot do this without them. Would all the sponsors or representatives please stand again so I can personally say thank you to you. Thank you. One more thing, because I see 2 hands for questions. Let me say again, it starts with relationships and team. Would all of the team please stick your hand, starting with Attorney Kimberly Ross, for making this possible. She is the mastermind behind making this happen, and so I want to recognize her and say thank you. Where is Dom and Will and Bria and Ron and Dion? I'll get in trouble when I go back later, and Donica, if I don't say everyone's name. Did you get some secrets today? Did you learn some things today? Knowing your scores. Let me leave you with one thing that I want you to know why this is so important to me. I've actually created a piece of legislation that's called the Fair Credit Score Act. You see, it's okay that they give you a free credit report, but what you don't get It's the 3-digit numbers, your credit score. And so I've written a piece of legislation that I'm asking them to enact to make sure that not only will they give you that free credit report, but they will give you your credit score as well. And you got a lot of initials, a lot of information today, but let me leave you with 3 more initials, and that's PSI. That is, first you must know how to plan. And once you figure out that plan based on everything you've heard here today, you have to do something with it. You have to save a little bit. And then if you're going to get to that wealth, then you have earned the right to invest. So plan, save, and invest. And so you can see, I can say I am Congresswoman Joyce Beatty with some sincerity, and I approve everything that our panel has said today. Now we're going to take a couple questions. Right here. And they're going to hold on to the microphone, Dom. And we're going to ask you to say your name and go straight to your question.
All right, my name is Shanara Ramsey. I'm a doctoral level neuroscientist. I founded a nonprofit to help turn black people into scientists. And one thing I didn't hear mentioned explicitly was intellectual property. Black people, we have genius in us. We have poems, songs, books that we don't write down, and that is what white people do well. They will hear our ideas, write them down, get the credit, get the money. So I think what we also need to say, added to all the things we heard today, is write your ideas down. I have a patent attorney on my board who will help you get your genius in the patent office. We can get this stuff done. We can take over America if we want to. We have the genius in us. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. That was better than a question, so thank you. Okay, right here.
All right, good afternoon. Excellent. My name is Marie Sturgill, and I represent National Association of Real Estate Brokers. We're the oldest foundation for real estate, Realtist, established in 1947 out of the need for democracy and housing. And what I like to say is that we have so much in this room, millennials and rebuilding our wealth through home ownership. We know that home ownership is the key to legacy and wealth building. So I would like to, well, I do have a question somewhere in there, but we do
the
have
line is getting longer.
Oh, we do. Okay, so we have a session, the State of Housing in Black America. It starts at 3 o'clock, and we would like to have some of you guys in attendance. And then my
room
question
number.
is,
Do you have the room number?
146C, and it's from 3 to 5. And then my question would be to anyone on the panelists, if you could come up with an idea, something that would help put together, that would help us to bring the millennials, because they do have the income, to get them to buying instead of renting.
What can we do to help millennials get engaged in the money wealth process?
In the money wealth
process. Who's going to take the question?
Thank you.
Let me have one person take it. Okay, Gerald.
If you can hear me. Well, first of all, you're absolutely right. The 13X number that we heard at the beginning of the wealth gap, about 26% of that gap is household or home ownership, or the difference between our assets of home ownership versus our white counterparts. That said, and are there realtors in the room? Okay, there's a few of you. If you are talking to a realtor to purchase a house, millennial, if they're not able to tell you what the appreciation percentage is for the communities that they're showing you homes in, fire them.
There you
because
go.
They are limiting your investment wealth growth potential if they're not taking you to places that are going to appreciate in 3 to 5% increments, because that's a good return on that investment in that asset. Millennials
Great secret. Next question.
Yes,
Question.
I would like to know, what would you want to say to the entertainers out there? That some of them are misleading the young entertainers, because I come from the state of Ohio, and we deal with entertainment there, but they're losing a lot of money out there, spending. What can you get to them? And I want to thank you, Congresswoman, because I used to work for Congressman Stokes on Bill Silverby Richards as the entertainment chairman, and you gave me the spirit. You made me have tears in my eyes at this workshop. I want to thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask Bruce and Susan to take that question.
You know, what I do say to them is wake up. You know, wake up. If it's on your A, it's not an asset.
All right.
It's not an asset. You can have it all around your neck and dripping from your ears and on your behind, but it's not an asset. You know, I think it's collaboration too, because we do look to celebrities to support our community. And people are talking about creating a trust that we can put in trusted hands. I have to go back to the fact that we don't trust putting money in black people's hands. Mm-hmm. We don't want to do that. We would rather put it in other hands, and that's a residual of the history. So I think it's really holding our celebrities accountable as well. Whose music are you listening to? Whose music are you purchasing? And what are they doing in our community? If they're not doing anything, call them out. Call them out. I'm not saying do it in social media, but do it in a way where you pull together your people and you say, we're not going to be supporting your product, your concerts, unless we can see some demonstration of you giving back your gifts, your wealth to our community. It's dollars and cents.
Thank you. Bruce, you want to add anything to that?
I'll just add very quickly, it's just not only entertainers, but you look at these athletes who are blessed to get what they have, and how many of them, other than, you know, on national TV, say giving honor to God, but in the evening, where are they? But the point here is holding them accountable as well. It's one thing to have this wealth. It's another to say, how are you in fact using your wealth to give back to where you came from in most instances.
Thank you. Next question.
My name is Cedric Nash. I'm a business owner and an investor. My question is related to the 50-year wealth gap, which is near and dear to my heart. And given the fact that as a people that we generate about $1.2 trillion in income, is it conceivable, I'm asking the panel, is it conceivable that we can close the gap ourselves? And if so, what do you recommend, and what approach do you recommend?
Ray, would you take that?
Yes, you know, the one thing I want to be clear, and Susan touched on it, the way to close that gap is not by compensation and income. I'll tell you, you need to get that book, and I don't recommend the author, I didn't put it in there, but Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the guy who wrote the book, you know, he says one thing, here's his point. You know, the go to school, work hard, and get it, that's good, you got to do that. But it's about assets. Assets, one more time, assets. It's your balance sheet, not your income statement. One more time, it's your assets. That's how you close the gap.
Thank you. Next question.
Hi, thank you so much for putting this on and kind of giving us this opportunity to kind of hear these secrets of success. My question is, how do we, as people who work on the Hill and as people who work, millennials in this area, how do we create a pipeline for people who we know who want to get to these kind of areas and you know, also mentoring? I know it's been hard for me as, you know, a pioneer of just graduating from undergrad and things like that. What do we do to kind of make sure that someone else is also brought up, and what can we do to make sure that we have mentors to kind of look up to?
I would say from the perspective of engaging with your policymakers, everyone has local officials. Everyone has a state representative and a federal representative. Write them, call them, emails. These Congress people, these leaders want to hear. And I think about how your ideas will make a change, how it will transform our communities, and make sure that you use social media. You know, what we've seen in the Black Lives Matter sort of situation, just get out there and be vocal and vote.
There you go.
Register, get registered and vote, because your vote makes a difference. And politicians will look at the numbers, they'll look in the districts, they'll look in the areas, and those are the people that they will listen to, but you have to vote. And that's what millennials, I'm so concerned about this campaign, because I'm not sure millennials are as engaged as they should be. They were with Obama, but in this one, I'm not sure they're there. So that's the thing that I would suggest you do.
How many elected officials do we have in the room? Stand up. Where are you from? Okay. Priscilla Tyson from my home community in town. She is also president pro tem of the city commission, and we are the 15th largest city in the nation. Thank you, Priscilla Tyson, for being here. Somebody else over he's pointing to. Oh, I'm sorry, right here.
Detroit, Michigan, 3rd District, Scott Benson.
Thank you. Thank you very much. There you go. Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause for being here. Thank you. Next question.
My name is Ronald DeFay. I have a company called the Positive Change Purchasing Cooperative. We've been working in the solar energy area with all of the solar companies in the DMV market area in Washington. My question to the panel is, how do we make what President Obama has done? They have put $16.1 billion to be spent in the next 4 years to grow the solar energy and the companies in there. Van Jones, who got the Green Jobs Act codified by George Bush administration, has put that industry on steroids. $500 million has been put into green jobs training. I've written President Obama a letter in July asking him to put $100 million in developing workforce development training for our HBCUs, developing solar farms for HBCU campuses and black farmlands. How do we get the message out on this new gold rush? Tesla, very quickly.
Okay.
Tesla, owned by Elon Musk, just did a $2.6 billion stock trade buying Solar City from his cousin. The company was started in 2004. How do we get our congressional and policymakers to get the word out? So I've started a show called Solar Now in the Future with its economic impact on Black America that I produce. So I would love for y'all to have this more of a discussion.
Thank you,
Congresswoman, because thank you for this so we can get the information
Let me
out.
enter briefly, and I'm only rushing because we also have to leave this room, but let me just tell you, thank you, and I think you just started the dialogue by educating us and putting it out here, so you started it right now, and thank you, and we will continue it. Next question, and this is the last question.
Hi, my name is Lauren Brandy. I'm from Paul Laurence Dunbar, and I'm a senior in high school.
Last but not least, thank you, my sister.
Hi, this is my question for Ms. Mayfield Banks. Mary Kay is a wonderful business. My mom and my family have also been into Mary Kay, and I am too. And me as a teenager, I love makeup. I love doing it, not just because I think I'm ugly or makeup is just bad. I love makeup just to get into it. It's a thing I like. So my question is for you is, how can we get our teenage black women or any race to get into makeup and get into the business of makeup, or being like junior makeup sellers, or like the people to sell the makeup?
Awesome question, awesome question. Let me just say this to you, because even in your question, I want you guys to all know that that makeup and image is a confidence builder. And so the way in which we make a difference for other people is to understand the gift that we're giving to them. So don't apologize for the fact that you love makeup. Don't apologize for the fact that you want to improve yourself and help other people improve themselves. Makeup is just another avenue that we use to increase people's confidence about the way they project themselves to other people. What I do is I build people. The vehicle I use is makeup. And so that's what I would tell you to do. And I think that there's so much out there for so many of the young women who want to have an entrepreneurial edge in the makeup business or in the image business. And so we're here for you in so many ways. And I want to just say one other thing that you're talking about, which is under that piece that we talked about, mentorship. I just want to ask our community to do one thing. We do spend so much time talking about what we don't do to help each other, and we need to increase the conversation on the encouragement. When you see someone that reaches down and you see someone who's mentoring, and we mentor our young people, please encourage them through the uplifting them of what they've done. Because if we talk more about what we do right, we will get more right. So I know you're going to be great.
Thank you to all our panelists. Again, thank you for being a wonderful audience. We have gifts over here from our sponsors for you to take on the way out. And that secret number is 147B for your lunch boxes. Thank you, thank you, thank you.